set up, and I don't know what it is. All right. Well, I am really excited to have Anita Ketogenic Woman here, and I've admired what she's doing for so many years, and she's sharing and just I'm going to use the word homespun for true health and wellness because it's simplicity. And I used to watch Julia Child cook, and I could watch Anita Ketogenic Woman like I used to watch Julia Child for hours and hours and hours. And we're here live stream today, and I am late, by the way, and I apologize. Anita, how are you this beautiful day in paradise?
Fantastic. Gorgeous sunny day here on the west coast of Canada. It's a perfect day. Perfect day.
Well, it felt like it was warmer this morning, but now I just got home about half an hour ago. It's already snowing again in upstate New York. But I love the
Oh,
snow. I love the
oh,
changes in
good.
seasons and the weather, and that's the beauty of all of this. And we have a live today for the next hour ish. And if you got to go
Okay.
or whatever it is, and we appreciate everyone stopping in to share what Anita has been helping us. And maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you inspired in the keto world.
Okay, absolutely. But first, I just want to say how much I love and adore you. I just think it's fantastic that you invited me here, and I first heard about you when I went to KetoCon, and I almost didn't
We're both,
come to your presentation. This was 2 years ago
yeah.
because the thing on the program said fertility doctor, and I was like, I'm 65. Why do I need a fertility seminar or whatever it was? But in the end, I was so glad that I attended because everything you said applied to everyone in this community, regardless of age. You were talking about, things fermenting in your colon and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my goodness, good information. So yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciated that. So I've been on this journey for over 10 years. I started off, just doing low carb, and then gradually learned about keto, and then gradually made it over to carnivore. And it hasn't been a linear journey. I didn't, I was 320-ish pounds when I started. So a lot, I had a lot of healing and weight loss and all that to do. And it all just took what it took. And it's been the best thing I've ever done. I'm 67 years old. I have zero medications to my name. I I do have a arthritic knee, but I still get over 10,000 steps a day, every
Wow.
day without fail, because I just really focus on the most nutrition I can. I love my sardines. I eat the meat and the sardines, and my body is happy with that.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
How did you sort of see the transition? Now, I'm 69 in 1 week. I always say I'm almost 70 and almost 15 years in the carnivore space. Before that, I was in the keto and the paleo and Atkins and Weight Watchers and all those things.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I never felt I had a weight issue, but I had arthritis, psoriasis, migraines, bowel bleeding, kidney stones, and all those things. So, how did sort of you see the transition in keto, carnivore, paleo, and all those areas?
Well, so I knew about all those things as well. I mean, my mother brought me to a Weight Watchers meeting when I was 12. I mean, I was an obese child, I was an obese teenager. And so this has been a lifelong struggle for me. The thing is that even as I made it up to well over 300 pounds, I thought mistakenly at the time that weight was my only issue. I thought I had a weight issue. I did not realize that there was just so much more. that it was emotional, spiritual, physical, like all of it was playing a part. I was so unhealthy and unhappy. And that kind of radiated into all areas of my life. And like when I first started, it was just all about, okay, I need to lose weight. That was the driving force. And gradually, I started to learn about nutrition and health and everything else, and started realizing that there was a bigger picture. It wasn't just about weight. And it really was brought home to me when my dad died, and I had to start taking care of my mom. And she was almost immediately after my dad died, I realized there was something quite not right with her, and she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so that made me realize that I was looking my future right in the eye there. I had lost about half my weight at that point, when she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And but she herself was 100 pounds overweight as a senior, and she struggled with everything. Just all the activities of daily living were almost out of her reach at that point. And I saw my future there. I saw, wow, like, yes, I'm doing okay. I've lost half my weight. But it was in that moment, those moments, so those next 5 years, that I started to realize that this was how it was going to be for me as well. Because I learned everything I knew about about food addiction from my mom, bless her heart. But also, though, spending those 5 years with her was very therapeutic, because we butted heads my whole life. And I realized we were a lot alike. We were both
Hmm.
stubborn. We both had the same sorts of issues. And I wouldn't trade those 5 years for anything in the world, even though it was very difficult to take care of her. But it made me discover my why. And they say you need the why that makes you cry. And this is it. I don't want my children. I have 4 children. They're all
Wow.
adults now.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I don't want them to be having to toilet me and pick me up off the floor. When we used to have to call the paramedics, and it would take three big strong people to get her up off the floor. And I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want that for my children. The loss of dignity that she endured those last 3 years. I just it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking, and it propelled me into, I need to take this seriously. Like this is real. No one's coming to save me.
Yeah. What would you sort of, as you look now, and we can all look back at what was, and I know I grew up in a family that was, my sister had diabetes since age 4, and food was a big issue. My dad was always overweight, and my mom was always focused on get him into exercise and
Hmm.
eat healthy diet, which usually was fruits and vegetables and salads and things like that. And no one really thought about, hey, is it what we're eating? Where do you think you sort of look today at yesterday for your dad, your mom, and yourself, and advice you would give them if you were sort of suddenly back there?
I think if I was back there and had a chance to help them, I regret not knowing more about plants and seed oils and ultra processed foods. They were immigrants to this country, and they had a difficult transition coming from World War, like war torn Europe. And at the end of World War II, they came here on a boat, and they meant well. God bless them. They wanted everything for their they met here in Canada, started a family, and they wanted to give my sisters and I everything that they didn't have as young people, or children. Like they kind of suffered through that whole World War II that was going on at the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that included food because they, especially on my mom's side, my mom, had one of her brothers when they were part of that great exodus across Europe where they escaped from the war zones into Central Europe, and one of her brothers died of malnutrition on the journey. And
Wow.
so
Wow.
she brought that with her, into this life in the new country. And I was the firstborn, and boy, did I get fed. She all that anxiety she had around scarcity of food, she brought that to the table, and I was very plump as a child, like super plump, and I'm not blaming her. I'm not I'm totally okay, because my sister is a year younger than me, and she's as skinny as a rail. So some of it is genetics. Maybe I got something from one side of the family and my sister got something from another side of the family. I don't know, but I just know that from an early age I was sneaking food. I could not get enough food. It was just I was addicted to it from a young age. And I wish that I had recognized it as an addiction earlier, in my life. I didn't really start acknowledging that I had some food addiction issues. Like that's just been on this journey, say in the last 5 years or so, that I really have embraced that. And yeah, that is my problem. And so, abstinence from sweet things is just going to be my way of life. And I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with it now.
It's a pretty hard thing. We live in an environment of an abundance, and our parents and grandparents, depending on where they're from, they lived in a lot of a lack and not having enough food, and the brain is just it wants to eat, and it wants to eat the sweets, and it wants us to get fat, because I imagine for eons, evolution of all humans, that food was scarce, and suddenly we have abundance. And I'm wondering how that plays, and especially if you're a cocaine, heroin, marijuana, alcohol addict, but you live in a space where it's just abundant. Is it easy to give it up?
Yeah, it's certainly not, because I think that the food manufacturers, the ones that make all the processed foods, they know how to make it even more addictive than it is. I grew up pre ultra processed foods, but I knew what to go for. I knew that I could, my mom baked everything from scratch, and so I grew up early knowing how to make 2 or 3 ingredients, and you got sugar cookies, right? And so if I wanted to do something like that, even as a 10-year-old, I knew how to do it. I knew how to make that stuff. So even though that predated processed foods, that amount of sugar that I always wanted to go for just was, it was in me early. And then, to be able to just so easily buy these things off the shelf and, drive through into a restaurant and pick it up. And now they've got DoorDash and Skip the Dishes. It is just so easy to get the food.
Our devices are just, it's so easy today. And by the way, for everyone who's listening and watching, if you have a question, please put it in there. If you have a comment, where are you from? I see people from British Columbia, all sorts of places around the world.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. Vancouver area. I can't remember where in the BC.
Vancouver Island. Yeah.
Which I absolutely love, Vancouver Island. It's a great place. If people haven't visited there, you must go. I wonder if those people that get obese easy are actually the reason that humanity even is alive. Because if you get fat fast and easy in an area of lack, scarcity,
Yeah.
you are likely to survive and reproduce. Where those that couldn't get fat easily, they would die. And I have a sense, and I haven't really, that people eat, quite often we eat the same things, but some people get fat fast and other people never get fat.
Yeah.
So, and in actuality, there's nothing wrong with us. There's more right than we know. And I personally believe that obesity is not a disease. It doesn't cause any diseases. But I'm wondering, as you talked about processed foods and the producers of our food today, and maybe there's a lot of toxins or chemicals or antigens that may be part of the problem.
Yeah, I think there probably is, and you know, you combine that with some of us do fatten easily. I've heard Dr. Barry talk about that, how he fattens easily, and so
Yeah.
he has to really moderate his selections, and I feel like I'm the same way, because if you take the example of myself and my sister, we are 1 year apart. She's never had a weight problem. She's on the thin side, you know, like the really thin side, very, she's like a beanpole. And there's me, and we grew up, you know, same mom and dad, same family meals, same thing. And I think with her, when we were adults, I could see that the difference is that, you know, she can have all that stuff that you
Yeah.
have, say, at a Christmas dinner or whatever, and then the next day she's like right back to normal, whereas I'm still dreaming about all that stuff and wondering how I can get more. So, you know, there's something that gets triggered inside me that doesn't seem to affect her.
Well, and so the brain is saying, hey, there's no food tomorrow, next week, next year. War, pestilence, disease were so common. And we just happen to live in a safe environment reasonably for we don't know how long though. And
Right, we
and
don't.
and that really is the big issue. What type of things besides weight loss did you see in your health and wellness?
Well, so I used to have plantar fasciitis. That was a big one. That and if anyone has ever had that, you get up in the morning, you get off your bed, and excruciating pain coming through the bottoms of your feet right into your legs, and it takes a few minutes to be able to walk normally. So that was one thing. I have arthritis in both my knees, probably from carrying all the extra weight over the years. My right knee is, very early stages, but my left knee is bone on bone, they say. And I was on the Canadian surgery wait list can be quite a few years, but that's okay because during this time as I was awaiting for my knee surgery, I was working on losing weight and eating better food, and discovered sardines along the way, and then all of a sudden they phoned me last September to make arrangements for the surgery, and I said, I think I'm good. I think I'm going to wait, because I still have the arthritis, but what I don't have is pain. The pain went away. And so that has been cured with carnivore.
Wow.
Now, even when I was clean keto, the pain was still there. So the pain didn't actually go away. And same with the plantar fasciitis. Both those things were an issue even doing keto, but they just all of a sudden became resolved with going that extra, just being carnivore. I had high blood sugar, 10 years ago. So that had, I never was diagnosed with diabetes, but I was up there. I'm sure that would have been a conversation coming my way if I hadn't of done the, going on keto. I always had high blood pressure back then, so my blood pressure is normal now. Everything is like all all my lab work, everything is just really good. It's, the doctor, she always looks at it and says, nah, nothing to see here. This is all very good. You're do whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And little does she know.
Well, what are your thoughts on where do we go? And certainly, growing up, we didn't have any outside influences like we have today on social
Yeah.
media. And what are your thoughts on how social media around the globe, from everyone and anyone that can tell a story that is healing because you didn't get it from your doctor?
No, no. So there's good and bad with social media, as with almost anything else. Now, I
Yeah,
grew up
yeah,
with no social media. I mean, our social media was, riding your bikes, and if you saw other bikes at the side of the road, you threw your bike down and went to join the kids, and that, that was how we got together. Um, and even when I started on this journey, that was pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook, like, where I'm dating myself like crazy here. All of these things were, uh, doing this was kind of word of mouth. Or magazine. So the magazine was the thing. I saw an article. Dr. Atkins was in
mhm,
Woman's World magazine way back when. Like, this was, I don't know, late 70s or early 80s. And that's where I discovered or read about, his way of eating, the low carbs, no carbs. You ate vegetables and meat. And this was before all the Atkins shakes and Atkins products and all that kind of stuff, right? He was like, eat meat. Even if it's bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs are fine. Have butter, have avocado, have cheese. Don't have any of this other stuff. And so that was kind of my first introduction to this through a magazine. And then, as the years progressed, and social media became a thing, even then it was more like bulletin boards, and
mhm, mhm.
Google, came out, and you could search for things. I think there was something before Google I can't remember the name of, but you could search for things online. And the first person that I ever discovered online, when I was searching for, I think I was searching for, can you eat zero carbs? And I came across Kelly Hogan, and she was
Yeah.
new on this journey. We're talking probably 2012, I think, or 2013. So she was brand new on this journey, and she had just written, her and her husband had done some website articles, and I just like soaked that up. And there was really no way to follow her because, like I said, this was before Instagram and even Facebook. But then I reconnected with her, years later. But yeah, it was a slow process of learning these things, and so then finally, with with social media, I mean, a whole new world opened, like YouTube, all that kind of thing. The downside of it is that people say to me, I don't know who to listen to. There's just so many opinions. This one says high fat. This one says not high fat, moderate fat. This one says you need high protein. This one says you know what I mean? Like there's, people get confused and they don't know who to follow. And I'm not really like that. I like hearing 100 different opinions. I really do. And
Mhm.
I'm of the mindset of, okay, they're all coming from a different context and different life, and different things have happened. They've got different health issues. So certain things are going to work for certain people and maybe not others. So it's just a matter of trying things out, like not being afraid to try different things out and see where you fit. I mean, when people ask me where to start, I just say, well, just eat these foods. It's more about what you're not eating. Eat whole single ingredient foods. See how you feel, and then tweak it later. We can't figure it all out the first week, and I think a lot of people come to this and want to be cured that first week, and
Mhm.
it's just not going to happen. It takes time. Takes time. You got to get all that stuff out of your system.
So 'cause I agree with you that there's a lot of advice out there and
Hmm.
examples and stories, and it's hard to know which is the right one. And maybe there are lots of different right ones. And I think that's the truth
Yeah.
here, because each and every one of you and us need to find what feels right. And you have to test it out. And so you really don't know until you do it. And I'm curious, what is it, Anita eats on a daily basis? What's your variety or
Well,
non-variety?
yeah. So these days I focus mostly on beef and lamb. Those are my mainstays. I even did 60 days of lion diet, like strict lion diet,
Wow.
in the fall. I even gave up coffee, and I still haven't
Me
brought it
me
back.
too. Me too, by the way.
Yay.
Yay.
So yeah, so that was kind of one of the last things I cleaned up was the coffee. And so not having the coffee has kind of helped me not have as much dairy, because dairy,
Yeah.
can be an issue. I am trying to, keep that at a decent, moderate, level. But yeah, so beef and lamb are the mainstays of my diet, and canned sardines. Those are the three things I eat the most often. In the beginning, I mean, I just ate all the meats, and now, those are the items. Sometimes I'll have some pork because I love pork belly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have some chicken, like because I like chicken wings, chicken thighs. But those are, they're few and far between. It's just evolved that way.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, beef is my favorite, and second to that is lamb. I just love lamb, and I love a good salmon fillet, good wild
Yeah.
salmon fillet as well.
It's our evolution. We want to get so Annalisa Murphy has a question. Greetings. I'm living in New Zealand. I've been keto for years, now carnivore since beginning of the year. I've lost 8 kilograms over a year, now a bit thin.
Oh,
Tips on how
good.
to gain a few kilograms or pounds.
Oh,
What's your
I
thoughts?
would maybe think about going a little more high fat, because the fat, of course, we want that fat. Anyways, it's good for our hormones. So if you're feeling like you need to put on a little bit of weight, you're one of those lucky persons that can up your fats, and probably be of benefit.
Yeah, I think adding fat. What are your thoughts on dairy? Do you do it? Do you think doing it on a regular basis is okay? Some people can do it, some people can't. Where do you? What's your
Well, for
opinion?
me personally, I've had to accept that it needs to be a condiment and not a mainstay.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
so I'm not doing, cheese quiches or carnivore cheesecakes anymore. As much as I love a carnivore cheesecake, I love your carnivore ice cream. I could eat your carnivore ice cream till it's coming out of my ears, but it would
yeah.
have to be something like a monthly treat for me, not even a weekly treat. So yeah, for me, very little cheese. Other people just seem to thrive on it. So it's something you have to kind of try and see.
So, sardines. I'm not a big sardine fan yet, but sardines? Dr. Boz loves sardines, and I love Dr.
She
Boz's
does.
sardine stuff. She's amazing.
Yes,
She's a rock star. Where do you put sardines in this? You sound like you do consume them often, and
I do.
yes,
I do. So I try to have some kind of seafood almost every day.
mm,
So
mhm.
along with my beef and lamb, you'll see a can of sardines on my plate. Um, Now I don't do that every single day, but it I make a conscious effort to have that. They're good like high in omega 3s, vitamin D, calcium, all those good things. Any fat, it doesn't have to necessarily be sardines. Any fatty fish. So
Yeah.
we're talking salmon, herring, anchovies, sardines, mackerel is another good one. Those are the ones that I do most, and just like to include them often. Dr. Boz loves those 3-day sardine challenges, and
Yeah.
that was my first exposure to sardines. And but I don't think people have to, if that thought just is revolting to you, you don't have to do that. I mean, that was just something that I decided to try, but just have some seafood in your regular rotation if you think you can benefit your joints. It really is good for inflammation of your joints. So if you're like me with an arthritic knee, it can be helpful.
The use of sweeteners
Yeah.
and even the sort of non-sugar sweeteners. What is your
Yeah.
opinion on that?
Well, so I used them for years. They got me into a lot of trouble when I was keto still, because I got into the whole keto treat scenarios. And after a while, I had to come to terms with the fact that that was holding me back, one of the things that was holding me back. And even as a carnivore, I had some trouble letting go of the sweeteners.
Hmm.
And but now that has changed, and I've come to terms with the fact that sweet tastes, whether it's stevia or like a natural sweetener or an artificial sweetener or the real thing, they can be triggering to me. So, but I have learned to like things without sweetener. So, for example, the last time I made your carnivore ice cream, I didn't add any sweetener in it. I added a little bit of vanilla powder and
Yeah.
cinnamon. And the cream that I get here locally, it has no additives. It tastes sweet to me now. Now that I've got that out of my system, so I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I mean, I used to do the sweetened electrolyte drinks as well, and I no longer do those. And I'm here. I am alive. I haven't fallen into the earth and in horror or anything. I'm doing okay. I'm doing better without all that. So, that's me.
There is a trigger that just putting it on your tongue, even the artificial sweeteners, stimulate
Hmm.
our brain to want to eat more. And I
Yeah.
imagine, evolutionary speaking, it was like, okay, there's a sweet fruit here, and there's lots of it right now.
Yeah.
But if you don't eat it right now, you could be dead next week. So, evolutionary speaking, there's physiology to that,
Hmm.
and there's nothing wrong with you wanting that. And
Right.
I think what you're saying, see, I don't like to use the word we're addicted, because physiologically we're supposed to want to eat that, but you must change your environment. And who
Yeah.
controls the environment you live in? And tell us a little about your thoughts on how do you control the environment of where you go to eat or what's in your home.
Well, in my home is fairly simple because the kids are grown up, and I have two of my boys live downstairs. One of them's a vegetarian, and
Ah,
yeah, and so we do have occasionally family dinners and whatnot. But I've got my own fridge. I do the grocery shopping. I mean, so I choose what is in my fridge. So for me, that has become simple. When I first started on this journey, I had a house full of teenagers and their
right.
friends, and so there was a little more exposure to all that stuff. But you can have separate cupboards for things. You can do little tricks and things. If I was to cook for a large group of people, which I love to do, I love it when there's lots of family and friends coming over for a dinner. I will cook uh, lots of individual meat dishes, and I will cook sides and things like that for the vegetarian. Like if you were to come to my place for a big family dinner. If you were paleo, you could find food to eat. If you're vegetarian, you can find food to eat. If you're carnivore, you can find plenty of food to eat. No matter what you call yourself, you're going to find food. and it's going to be part of the proper human diet. It's all going to be single ingredient food that I've made from scratch. Dessert will be fruit for those people who want, that sweet at the end. So, I've learned to embrace that and know that everybody has their own version of a whole foods proper human diet, because some people, it's a spectrum to me, and I'm just somewhere else on the spectrum from everybody else in my family. But they respect that, and I mean, I don't complain about their vegetables if they don't complain about my meat.
The as you've gone through this and you doing your social media work and creating a community and being in a community, do you think that's helped your strength in helping suppress that addiction?
I think so. In my community, there's everybody from just low carb to carnivore and everything in between. And so I have made it's a community of people who are just following whole food single ingredients. Sometimes people will post things that I could never eat myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I try to meet people where they are in their journey, and hope that through education they will eventually realize that seed oils are not what you want to eat, and be a little more choosy with things that they buy from the store. They might eventually realize that reducing the carbs might get them further along. I don't know. I don't judge what other people eat. I've just figured out what works for myself, and follow that without apology. This is how I eat. This is how I need to eat.
I agree with you. I found for myself, and I just, again, that community, wherever you want to be, the community still helps you
Mm,
to support it. And it's, somehow, if we show up, we then listen and learn, because as the mind is beginning to hear and see, it just takes us away from that environment that is an addiction damaging. I guess the word addiction, we want to look at it and think about it as something that's harmful. Obviously, I'm addicted to breathing, but it's good for me. And
yeah,
where, you
yeah.
got to eat, but it's really the part that is harmful. And maybe, Chow CEO, this is a little bit of an important question about your history of bone on bone and arthritis. How do
Yes,
you
yes.
manage all the steps in a day? And is keto carnivore really sort of changing that for you also?
Absolutely, because in the beginning, I couldn't. When before I started to go on this journey, lose some weight, I couldn't even make it to the mailbox down the street. I mean, it was every step was a painful step, and so being carnivore took away the plantar fasciitis. It did not take away my arthritis. I still have the arthritis, but it took away the pain, and that you know I know that some if I walk the 10,000 steps all at once, I'm going to be suffering the next day. I break it up. So I do a 30-minute morning walk, and I do a 30-minute evening walk, because I try to get the sunrise and the sunset. In the day, I get up and I do what we call little exercise snacks. So, because I work at a desk, and so I get up throughout the day, um, say at least once every hour, do some squats, do some counter or wall push-ups, that kind of thing, like just sort of keep things moving. And under my desk, I also have a recumbent, not a recumbent, an elliptical little wheelie thing.
Ah,
It's very quiet, very silent. And if I'm sitting here working, so easy for me to just put my feet on there and keep my knee moving, like that. Like that's, I got it for my knee, so it keeps that motion going. Because I think that's important if you have arthritis in your knees to do all of those things. But so I'm careful about how I do those 10,000 steps. If, I know the next day if I've done too much, and there will be some stiffness and maybe some icing or something the next day. If you break it out throughout the day, that is
Yeah.
the best thing.
I imagine you're not hunting and gathering for your food and
No.
repairing the shingles and the siding and removing the weeds from the grasses and
I do
the
no, I do a lot of outside yard work. I love outside yard work.
well, I wasn't. I think my point a little bit is we don't do that, because when 50,000 years ago, you had to
Okay,
go do
okay, I
all
see
of
what you're.
that, and isn't it that the motion was done in the work we did, and
Yes.
I mean, I stand at a desk or I sit at my desk a little bit. I I I think the walking is really critical because we're not going anywhere anymore except in a
Right.
car, a bus, a train, a plane, or something like that.
100%. We lead a sedentary lifestyle for the most part. Just just by design, just being in this modern society is sedentary.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, 100 years ago, if I wanted to eat, I needed to go do something about it.
Yeah, right, and that's
Physical.
and that's we don't have that. We have the same drive, but it's right there, and we go, oh, we don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gigi Paris, you inspired me, Anita. Thank you. Been on carnivore diet 3 months with amazing results. We'll have to get Gigi
Yay.
on to talk about her amazing results. And I think tell us where you're from. Tell us about what got you to carnivore, ketovore, and tell us about what results, because your story, what I'm learning and working with Healing Humanity and been on this journey for so long, I've learned from people like you. And I learned carnivore. Actually, I learned paleo from my patients 20 years ago. I was like, whoa, what's this? You're getting pregnant on a diet. And then it led me to keto and then
Yeah.
carnivore, and like, whoa. And I can't stop talking about it. Even though I'm a fertility doctor, it's really every single disease is caused by the same things.
Pretty much.
So that's the crazy part about all of this fertility journey. What inspires you on your cooking shows to decide which thing to bring on? And I just love all of them, but I'm really fascinated by your taking hamburger and making something sort of making like a dried jerky out of it, and something that you could take as a snack.
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey and when
So
you decide.
yeah, so as far as the cooking part of my channel, it's not, I don't really have a plan. It's mostly driven by my own personal need.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, because when I'm cooking, I'm eating that after, so it better turn out. I'm not kind of making things up that I saw that sounds cool or whatever. It's like, okay, this week I need to eat some stuff. I'm going to prep some food, and then the camera goes on. So, if people are watching my real eating life unfold there, those are things that I eat and I have. Now it has changed, because when I first started cooking on YouTube, I would have called myself more probably ketovore, I guess.
hmm
And so now I'm cooking pretty simple things, basic meats. And there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to deal with some of those basic cuts. So I'm hoping that people are learning, that you can have meat on a plate and make it taste good, and that there's so many different cuts, that all have different textures and flavors. And so I'm trying to show that it doesn't have to be boring. It never gets old for me to have a piece of meat on my plate with salt.
yeah. I never get bored about cooking a steak or a burger every single day, and we could still have enjoyment that the food
Yeah.
is part of life and community and coming together. It's
Amen.
realizing, yeah, and that's what we love to do. We go to our meetups, and we go around the world and meet new people. Tell us a little bit about your community meetups and what you're doing and where you're going to be. I saw you at, I think it was Meatstock last year. Where are you going to
Yes.
be this year?
Well, I'm going to be there again. I'm coming
Good.
back to Tennessee, so I will be there. I'm also going on the low carb cruise in June. That is going to Alaska, which I'm very excited about. I have always wanted to go on a cruise to Alaska.
Wow.
And so that's a good opportunity. There's about 350 people on that cruise that are going to be part of the low carb community on there. And there's speakers like Dr. Boz apparently is going to be there, and Coach Bronson, and there's quite a few. I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but that's going to be a lot of fun. So I would like to do a couple of those events if possible every year going forward while I'm still young enough to travel and have fun and get around. Now, this is something I never would have been able to do before. I couldn't fit in an
Yeah.
airplane seat. I needed, it was embarrassing to need an extender, and every where that I wanted to go or things I wanted to do, it was like, oh, never mind. I don't want people to see me. I don't, it was just too hard. Everything was hard. And now I can jump on a plane at a moment's notice if I needed to and not give it a second thought. I don't feel like I'm crowding other people, taking up their space. Like I feel like I can walk around as a normal person. And that's huge. That's huge. When you've spent your whole life being twice the size of a normal person.
Someone in their 70s and 80s and 90s, is it too late to make the
No,
change?
100%. It is not too late. And I have people that follow me that are in their 70s and 80s, and some of their stories are mind blowing. Uh, People can start anytime. It's never too early, but it is also never too late to do this. And I have heard people in their 50s saying, and I felt the same way. Is it too late for me? I'm in menopause, or I'm, post menopause, or whatever. I just feel like I can't get anywhere. And I even had a doctor tell me, uh, just before I turned 40, once you're 40, you're not going to be able to lose any of this weight. So you need to do it now. And that turned out to be so not true. It was devastating to hear that. And I carried that thought around for a long time. There's no point. I'm over 40. Nobody can lose weight in their 40s. Not true. Not true. I was in my early 50s. I was pre-menopause. I went through menopause, losing weight, post-menopause, losing weight. You can do it. It can be done. And I kind of live for that. I live for telling people that it is not too late, because of what I saw my mom go through and her friends, people in that age group. They can make these changes. They can make these, it's about your health span. I mean, we're all still going to get old, but we can be healthy while we're doing that, and that's what is exciting for me about this.
Yeah, Bonnie, keep it simple. Eat real whole foods, avoid processed foods and seed oils. And as Dr. Bickman says, if it comes in a bag or a box with a barcode, avoid it.
Yeah,
And
that's good
that's kind of
advice.
and that's kind of the simple answer here. It's your local farmers, ranchers, dairy,
Yes.
and if you want to grow some of your own fruits and vegetables and keep it, minimal, in my opinion, that's probably, and I always say minimally consumed and infrequent enough, because I'm always worried about the goitrogens, which essentially cause tumors and every disease we have, and it's nobody's allergic to ribeye steak. Do you know anyone that's allergic
No.
to ribeye steak? Yeah.
No. I've never heard of anyone having an issue with that.
Is coffee good for us?
I don't know, because if you Google it, you're going to get, the pros and the cons. And I still don't know if coffee is something that affected me negatively or not. I just decided, okay, I want to do Lion. People who do Lion don't drink coffee. I'm gonna stay off the coffee. And I'm kind of glad that I haven't brought it back, even though I'm just doing regular carnivore now. I didn't bring back the coffee because for me that also became kind of addictive. It was replacing water. I was not drinking very much water because I was spending my entire morning drinking coffee. And now, you always see me with a glass of water instead, whereas before it was a big mug of coffee. So I guess I got to the point where, I just didn't like to feel that something had that kind of control over me, where I would just drink and drink and drink and not drink the water, which is really the best form of hydration.
I mean, there wasn't really, again, in our evolution, um, all these drinks and energy drinks just didn't exist. And we're
Right.
highly addicted to them. And so we consume them. But so much I see in science and medicine is it's hard to trust any of the scientific papers because ultimately they're written by the companies that are selling the products.
Yeah.
And so it's just a hard one to know what to believe, and you're going to get 50 papers one way, 50 papers another way, and so that's really a big challenge. And I've been off coffee. I technically I've been off for almost 2 years, but the
Okay.
year prior I did 1 month, so I was off coffee in 23, but January 24 I decided to do decaf again, and then for like a month and a half, and then I stopped again. So it's kind of, and it's been
Yep.
easier than I've ever known to do it. And even sometimes, like I had a sips of a coffee, and it's like it was so bitter, and it just
It
didn't
is,
do it
isn't it?
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah,
It,
and I mean, I don't have any judgment towards people who still continue to have coffee. I mean, look how long it took me to to stop drinking it. Who am I to judge somebody who says, I've done this and that, and I'm not ready to give up the coffee. And I'm like, yeah, fine. It's all good.
I'm really excited for Anita to be here, ketogenic woman. You have to just check her stuff out. And I'm sure many people have seen her, but really our intention is we share the word around the globe. And thank you, everyone, for being here. You matter a lot. And the more we share with likes, subscribes, and all those things for each of us, by the way, because we're
Yeah.
changing the world one human story at a time. And if you're waiting for the science and medicine to give you something that's true and there'll be no other opposites, it'll never happen because that's not human nature, is it?
No, we have to do this for ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to. No, nobody's coming to rescue us with a magic pill or a magic drink, a magic shot. Some of those are supposedly out there, but they're not going to be even, they may be a partial answer for some people, but they're not going to be the whole answer. Eventually, we have to come to terms with the toxins, the stuff in the food, all the processed food. Eventually, we have to come to terms with what do we really need to eat for our, nourishment of our bodies.
Stay away from plants because they're predators and poisonous. They want to take us down and make us fertilizer. And when you eat a plant, it's still alive, by the way, because when you're dead or before that, it'll grow within you and come out of you in one way or another. That's kind of
It
crazy.
will.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on fasting? What's your experience? How do you handle those times that you're
Well,
like, oh, I'm not going to eat?
so I don't do purposeful fasting, like as in say a 3-day water fast or something like that. I'm not saying I never will. I just have difficulty with not eating, and that might just be my thing, because I know a lot of people who have done really well with fasting. I tend to fall naturally into a 16 to 18 hour fasting window, and I'm kind of happy there. So I go with it. I Yeah, I was actually going to try a 24-hour fast. In fact, today was the day I was supposed to try it, but I ended up not having dinner last night, and then this morning I was super hungry, so I just thought, oh heck with it, I'm gonna do that another day. I just can't get excited for myself about about going without food. So I just try to make sure that the food I do eat is good.
I think fasting is very therapeutic. It's spiritual. It's
Yeah.
strengthening. It's not required. I think one of the problems is when your gut is full of food from the day you're born to the day you die, that actually contributes to a lot of damage and disease.
Yeah.
Liver damage is caused from a high protein, high plant, low animal fat diet and 3 to 6 meals a day. I
Yeah.
typically do one meal a day at night. I haven't eaten today. I only had a burger yesterday night and burger tonight. I was going to do a 3 day fast, but I've decided not to do that because I'm traveling. And usually, if I fast and travel,
Hmm.
I eat, I get some bowel upset when I first refeed. So I got to be really careful about that. And
Right.
and but I don't think it's required, but it does heal a lot of diseases. If people just can't heal them, do a 3 to 5 day fast, and like it's quite radical and amazing.
Yeah, no, I've heard amazing results from people who can do it, and I think at the very least, if we can have our stomachs empty for, I try to finish the last thing 4 or 5 o'clock at night, and
Yeah.
nothing until the next day, and that was hard at first. I couldn't imagine. You have to have an evening snack. Who doesn't have an evening snack? And that was one of the things that was a thing of mine, eating at night. And so when you just finish your eating for the day and can go 16 hours until your next meal, I think that's very good, for reducing blood sugar and those sorts of things.
Is our problem we just don't we're not doing anything, we're watching things. And
Yeah.
between sewing and furniture making and knitting and storing and breaking down the animal and salting it and putting it away. I mean, we just don't have things that we're doing anymore. And I remember growing up, my mom was either sewing or in the yard doing
Yeah.
something, or and so we're kind of, I'm gonna use the word, we're entertained. It's comfort zone. We're in a comfort zone of
Yeah,
entertainment.
we are. And so when my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I took a course at the Alzheimer's Society, and I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. And one of those things is that if you're not getting out and being with people and doing things with people, meeting people face to face in some kind of community, whether it's carnivore meetups,
Yeah.
playing cards, getting together with friends to knit or crochet or garden, or whatever those things are, those activities and being with the people are a deterrent. Like, they actually reduce your risk of suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia when you're older. So I think it's important to do that now, when you and I are in our 60s. And what I learned also was that with my mom in her 80s, her problems actually started in her 60s. And so these are important things for you and I to do now, and protect our health 20 years from now, by getting out there and doing things.
It is carnivore and keto lifestyle a helper and healer for the diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's?
I 100% believe with every fiber of my being that it is. And I heard this the other day. You eat the standard American diet, you're going to get the standard American diseases. And so carnivore and keto are they're so far from that, as long as you stay away from from the I don't know if I've ever seen any carnivore foods yet on the grocery shelves, but you can certainly go and buy all kinds of packaged keto foods. Please run away from those when you see them.
Well, why do people want to buy fake meat?
I honestly, I don't know. Like, that's not something that a carnivore would buy, or even a keto or paleo person. That would be something that vegetarians might want to buy. And so yeah, so for us to go and buy fake keto treats and things like that, I think it's the same thing as the fake meat to the vegetarians.
Yeah, I sort of think of it that we are actually all carnivores in our evolution,
Yeah.
but we've been domesticated because we've been encouraged to eat plants and fake meat. And you want to eat fake meat because your brain wants to eat meat. And we're so domesticated and brainwashed that we'll
Mhm.
eat something that they tell us to eat, which keeps us domesticated and keeps them in control of us. I mean, do you ever get hangry because you haven't had your steak?
Uh, no, but uh, not like, I really want my steak when I want it.
But there's no hanger. It's like
No,
it's sort of like we don't. It's sort of like,
no.
oh wow, I'm gonna have my steak. That's sort of
It,
like traditionally who we are.
yeah, it's something that I look forward to. So yeah, it's completely different than when you don't get your Tim Hortons donuts in the morning. It's completely
Which
different.
which ultimately civilization through the Paleolithic to the Neolithic, we found tremendous amount of diseases set in because we've been encouraged to go from a hunter gatherer to a producer of massive foods for the people in order to make them peasants, prisoners, slaves, and soldiers. That's kind of my thoughts on who we are, because the food we eat, we're not doing any hunting or gathering for.
Right, right. And I think in our evolution, if we did eat, fruits and things like that, it was it would have been to prevent starvation, and not our first instinct to go out and get them. And it would have been seasonal, very, very seasonal.
Anita, would you go out to the honey beehive, and collect honey for the tribe today?
Myself personally, I'm kind of afraid of the getting bee stings, so I don't think I'd want the honey that bad. I don't know.
Yeah, that was it. Sardines in oil or water? What's your
Either. Either. I mean, I eat both. Olive oil, though, please don't buy the ones that are in the seed oils, because there's plenty of those on the shelves. Look for the good olive oil, or the water, and add your own fats to it.
what's been the hardest thing in your life?
Oh, I don't know. I've had a really good life, all things considered. I don't know. Yeah, we'd need a half hour for that one.
But I wonder if the things we've suffered from that we maybe thought at the time this is hard actually turned out to be the sunlight things, the things that sort of
Yeah,
gave us that sparkle and that shift and change. Where, because your
yeah.
stories about your mom, that must have been very hard, I imagine.
That
But
was that
but
that
as a
that was.
as a daughter, and I know I saw my parents through. My parents lived to almost 94, and they both had some Alzheimer's, dementia. My father had some heart disease. My mom had a stroke. But I would not want to do anything different than I did in taking care of them, and I'm sure you felt the
Yeah.
same.
Oh, 100%. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do that. Like that, it was a life-changing thing in a good way for me to, even though it's something I never would have chosen. And in fact, 10 years ago, you would have heard me say, Mom coming to live with me? No way. I would not, I would have been that person that would have said like, not happening. But it happened, and it was probably for the best.
Are there any things that I haven't asked you today that you'd like to comment on?
This has been a really good conversation with you, Dr. Kiltz. I really enjoyed this. I like going live. I like interacting with a live audience, and I do that. I do that every week as well. And love to see people's questions because I learned so much. Like you mentioned earlier, I learned so much from the people that come and ask the questions and tell their stories, and I think there's nothing better. So I honestly don't have anything to add except that whatever your circumstances and age and abilities are right now, it really is not too late. And if it's to be, it's up to me, which means it's up to you to make that change and make it a priority.
And it is never too late. And in reaching out to someone who has suffered and has some stories and solutions is one of the best things. And now, again, I go right to YouTube or Instagram or my two go-tos to meet people and go to the meetups and ask the questions. That is so important. And we're all I just curious about, is it just easy to jump on live, or is there? I mean, I always have a little bit of like, I don't know. There's a little bit of something in there that says, well, do you really want to do this?
I get terrified for 2 days prior to, like, I go live every Sunday evening, and I'm terrified for the 2 days prior to that. What am I going to say? What if there's nobody there? What if there's no questions? What if like I go through this anxiety, and I didn't want to do it at first. I've been doing them for about a year. I didn't want to do it at first, and now as soon as it starts, it's like, this is where I belong. This is what I'm meant to do. This is how I'm going to reach people. And I love it.
And you're one of the most genuine, inspiring people that I've learned from over the years. And we're seeing so much suffering out there. And if you are suffering, or someone else is suffering with the standard American diseases, check out Anita's YouTube and her site and her energy for sharing. So where can people find you out there, Anita?
Well, I'm mostly on YouTube, and I do have an Instagram account, and because I'm old, I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. But I am there, and I have the account, and I know how to answer messages, and I know how to share posts. That's about it so far. But yeah, YouTube is the main place to find me.
I know how to click on and off, and that's kind of about it. And thankfully, I have some people to help me, but I get myself in trouble a little bit. Is there a land package with the cruise? Do you know?
There is, like, in Alaska. I can't remember where, but Jazzy Mama is from Alaska. There is somewhere where we are going to land, and I just cannot remember off the top of my head where it is. But Jazzy Mama, you come to my Sunday lives. Ask me again, and I'll have that information for you next time.
Yeah, oh my God, Lisa Wiedemann, the carnivore doctor, does these cruises, and I said, well, I'm not sure yet, because I'll fly my airplane and I will meet you wherever, but I'm saying yes And I just got to figure out which one and where I'm gonna land
Yeah.
with her. So
I,
we'll
I
put
want to go
links.
on one of hers as well,
Oh
maybe in
yeah.
2026.
Oh
Yeah.
man, there's so much, and just connecting with the people. I mean, I think this is. I'm in standard medicine. I'm a busy guy in standard medicine, but I want to talk about this more than anything out there. And it all comes down to what are you putting in your mind and what are you putting in your mouth if you want to make
Yes.
changes in your life. Listen and
100%.
learn. That's really the key for all of us. So, all right.
Yes.
What's the so how do people find you? What's the site?
Well, ketogenic woman. So I have got a website, ketogenicwoman.com. It's got most of my recipes, but more of my cooking, of course, is on YouTube, and my handle there is also ketogenic woman. So
Well, and thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for everyone helping in the comments, and I love to get every single one of them, but it's not always.
it's hard. I want to thank Bonnie and Melissa for coming because they helped on, because this is also streaming on my channel,
Yes.
so they helped with comments there. So thank you guys for coming today. It's so nice for me to meet your audience too,
Yeah.
and I appreciate all those people that have come.
Well, I know I need to do more afternoon lives because there are more people awake at 5 p.m. than there are at 5 a.m.
I try to get to some of your things at 5 a.m. and it's difficult here on the West Coast.
Although my plan sometimes when I'm on the West Coast, I actually do it at West Coast 5 a.m. And I've got to start doing that. I've been sort of trying to keep to my 5 a.m. But I
Yeah.
have to loosen up and let go a little bit, and I'll work on doing that. So, but we
Okay.
appreciate
Well,
everyone. So thank you everyone for being here. Anita, thank you. God bless you.
you are so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'll see you in Tennessee.
See you in Tennessee. And I'm going to be in